I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go.
Welcome. I am Dr. Barry, and the Kouri Richins trial. So I'll be honest, I've been following the Colin Gray trial a little bit closer, but I did watch the opening statements and then also the testimony from the victim in this case, from his father, and also the victim in this case, Eric Richins, his sister as well, and her husband. So I did watch all of that testimony. That was on Monday. And I've been kind of peeking in and out of testimony today, just seeing what's going on. But there were some interesting things that happened with opening that I wanted to talk with you all about. Please also know that I covered the one of the hearings where they talked about bringing in mental health experts that talked about the pathway to violence, or talking about any type of DV, or why a person might decide to stay in an unsafe situation, or even if they did suspect that their partner did poison them, why they might stay. And so that was a prior video. If you need the link to that video, just let me know in the comments and I will be sure to put it there. But this case has been a lot. I think the state did a good job with opening. They had a lot of great visuals, and I took a screenshot of some of the text messages, some of the key evidence. I'm a very visual person, and so I like it when they use technology, when we're able to see some of the PowerPoints or exhibits that have been prepared. And I think it just kind of helps the jury, track everything. Now, the defense brought up an interesting point that this case could come down to someone's perception. Now, I think the state is going to say it comes down to evidence, that there's very clear evidence that Kouri Richins did all of these things. Like, I think that's what the state is going to say. The defense is like, well, some people might look at her and see a witch, and some people might look at her and see a widow. And I do have that image saved, and I will pull that up, and we will take and we'll take a look at that later. I totally get that following two trials has been difficult. The testimony from yesterday was interesting, so I completely followed yesterday. I have not followed today as closely for Kouri Richins because they're just getting into medical testimony. They're getting into a lot of like what the officers first saw. It's I'll probably be paying more attention when they start breaking down some of the financial information, going through people's phones and bringing in some of that. Well, we know for sure that she's a widow, but I think and it was just interesting. I didn't expect the defense to be like, you might see a witch, you might see a widow. And I thought that was interesting. And I think they're going for reasonable doubt. So they're trying to say, if the state doesn't completely prove this, then find our defendant. But I think the state has a pretty solid case. But so the state opens up their opening statement talking about with Kouri Richins' text messages to her boyfriend saying that she loved him. They also talked about that she owed over $4.5 million to multiple lenders, and that there was this facade. And the state is going to talk about that Kouri is all about appearances, that it really just that she focuses on what you see. And I liked that they brought that up because a piece of that came out during the sister's testimony. But they're going to talk about the fact that Kouri took out an insurance policy on her husband 2 weeks before he died, that she was chronically unhappy, and she thought that having children would make her happy, and it didn't. And for anybody that didn't know, if you are unhappy before children, children do not bring joy. They just don't. So you want, like, especially when you first have a child, you often have to like find yourself again, almost like you have children because you have an abundance of love, you have an abundance of joy. Like, you children do not make people happy. If a relationship is already rocky, having a child does not make that relationship stronger. It just doesn't. I haven't been able to watch Kathy's video. I'm sure Kathy from Gossip Rumor and Innuendo, she gives you the brief recap. And so I love Kathy's recaps. They also talked about that Kouri consulted with a divorce attorney, but Kouri Richins, she had signed a prenup. And if they divorced, she wouldn't get, she wanted access to his business, she wanted the house, and she would not have inherited his $4 million estate. That's what state says. His estate was valued at $4 million, and that she wouldn't have got that if they had divorced, because there was a prenup. And uh 3 months before his death, she booked a $5,000 resort trip with her boyfriend, scheduled for after her husband died. That's super suspicious. Unless the defense has messages of her telling her husband, like, I have a work trip that I have to go on, or I'm going on a women's retreat. Like, how is she planning this tropical vacation with her boyfriend and paid $5,000 for it, or reserved it, booked it? I don't know. But her husband is still alive. I thought that was super suspicious. And remember, opening statements are not evidence, so you can't go so the state is going to have to present all of this information, but they told a really compelling story to me. They're going to say that on Valentine's Day that year, that she attempted to, that she asked the housekeeper for, that who she was aware had a history of legal issues, specifically with narcotics, that she asked the housekeeper to get her something, and that she put it in his sandwich, and he became sick after. And then after he survived that she asked the housekeeper for something stronger. That is what the state alleges. The defense describes that situation completely different. She asked someone if they ever killed anyone and while they were in Iraq, and how they felt about it after. I thought that was just strange, but the state is just providing all that information. They also talked about the fact that her cell phone data, that everything was deleted, and that she purchased a new phone after, for and that she had a new phone, and that on this new device that there were some suspicious searches, specifically searches about, can they recover certain information. Now let me share my screen so we can go over some of the visuals that the state shared. Okay, so that's all righty. So trigger all the warnings for all the information. Like, so this was the first one. So on February 15th, 2022, Kouri messages her boyfriend, "If I was divorced right now, I would ask you to marry me tomorrow. Would you?" And she also messaged him, "I just want to lay on the couch and cuddle you, watch a murder documentary, and snuggle." And so, y'all know we like true crime here. And so, but like, with what she's charged with, doesn't look great. But, and then on February 19th, she texts him, "Babe, I miss you. I really want you today, every day, not just intimacy, but physically, mentally, every day when I wake up. I do want a future together. I do want you. figure life out together. If we could just, if he could just go away. She's talking about her husband. The he is her husband. If he could just go away and you could just be here, life would be so perfect. I love you. I don't know what my deal is today. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. So then February 23rd, 2022, I have a crazy dream. You quit your job. I divorce and come up with millions and millions. We buy Midway. And so Midway is this mansion that she's trying to purchase and live it in the guest house and rent out the huge house as a big event center. 15K a day, like they charge down the road, maybe 12K to stay competitive. And we will just run the event center as our daily job and hang out every day. Raise some kids. That seems like the raising the kids seems like an afterthought in my opinion, but I could be wrong. Raise some kids, have a little farm. Deal? Question mark. Okay. So Kouri's phone searches on the new phone was, can cops uncover deleted messages iPhone? Can you delete everything, and things are spelled wrong, everything off an old iPhone without actually having it? Can deleted text messages be retrieved from an iPhone? How to completely wipe iPhone clear remotely? How to permanently delete information from an iPhone remotely? That's suspicious. That's where we start getting into consciousness of guilt. This is after. So once again, this is after her husband has died. These are the things that she is searching. If someone is poisoned, so the specific search is if someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? Because I think she's worried about like not being able to inherit the money. Like if somebody dies with a and they suspect it's suspicious, like what's going to happen with the death certificate? Can cops force you to do a lie detector? Women Utah prison? And she's already searched. She's not a suspect at this point, or that she's aware of. She's already searching luxury prisons for the rich in America. Uncle Google is going to get you every single time. Okay. So then the state talks about the book. So after her husband died, the state alleges that it was at her hands, that she poisoned his drink, his Moscow Mule. I want to say it was like a Moscow Mule or something, that she made a drink for him. After consuming that drink, he is no longer with us. And he died from an fentanyl overdose. And he did use cannabis, he did not use harder substances. That is what the state is going to allege, and they believe. And so she wrote a book called Are You With Me? And she went on the local news station. I don't know if that interview is still up. I'm sure people have talked about and covered it, but she likely paid for the spot. I don't know that for sure. But sometimes if you're an author, you can pay your local news station to be on there, to come and be there. But she wrote a kid's book about grief. That's what she did. And then the state said, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. The state said that these were the memes that she looked up after she was interviewed by the police. So the one is like somebody kissing money. The next one is idiots everywhere. And then the court TV thing is blocking. I don't know what the last one is. But that is that's where we are. That is where we are. And I think that the state did a phenomenal job with their opening. They laid out the case. And they also, in their opening, they talked about that there was some time between when she walks into the room and they believe, because her phone unlocks, or like there's something that happens where they believe that she came into the room, and then there was time before she called 911. And even on her even on her, like when the deputies and everybody get there, like she talks about finding him deceased, and she doesn't say that she immediately called 911. That's what I heard in the body cam footage. Um, all right. And yes, so we talked about that. The state talked about consider the evidence, and that she values and trades on her perceived appearance, affluence, privilege, and success. I will say that again. I like had to pause it and rewind it because I wanted to get the quote exactly. So the state said, consider the evidence that she values and trades on her perceived appearance, affluence, privilege, and success. And I think they have Kouri's number. I could be wrong, but like I was like, ooh, that okay. Okay. So then the defense opens with the 911 call, and I was watching Kouri just to see, if she had any reaction. Some defendants will like cry during that portion. I just wanted to see. Thank you for adding this. So the last one is Trump saying, "I'm super rich." Thank you. And that's just weird to be searching after your husband died. If you're like, because that's where the defense wants us to see a grieving widow, but that's super strange. That's super strange. Uh, and so the defense opened with the 911 call. And once again, like I said, she was looking down. And like she didn't cry, like she was looking down. And the defense says those are the sounds of a wife becoming a widow. She has, I think, a good defense team. And so yeah, she has a decent team. They were celebrating because Kouri was about to close on the biggest real estate deal. They showed a picture of the Midway mansion and I wonder if Kouri asked them to do this. I didn't think they had to do this in their opening. Like they actually pulled up a picture of the big mansion that she was going to renovate. I did not take a picture of it. I didn't feel like we needed to see that, but like they right after the state says she's only concerned with her appearance and how things look. Y'all are over here talking about her success. Like the second sentence, I could be wrong. There might have been a few, but when I was taking notes, I hear those are the sounds of a widow, and then they immediately go into her about to close on a big real estate deal. And it's my understanding that she still wanted to close on the deal that day, even after her husband died. But that's a whole other conversation. She was going to make $2 million in profit. They showed Eric's tax return, her husband's tax return, that he made over $700,000. That I guess that previous year maybe, and a picture of their beautiful home. That they talked about that they went to marriage counseling in the weeks before. I don't know. And that in the weeks before he died, that they were the happiest. And that Eric was happy. And that friends are going to come in and talk about that Eric was happy. But did he know she was having an affair? Because Kouri's over here making plans with her boyfriend. And I don't think her husband would have been okay with that. I could be wrong, but I don't. So while I think, and Kouri could have been trying to keep him happy so he didn't suspect anything. I don't know. And she could have been happy because of her plan. Those are just my thoughts. I don't know that for sure. But okay. And so they talk about how one of the children has night terrors, and that's why she went to sleep in that in her in that child's room, and that she thought Eric had taken a marijuana gummy. And then the defense shows pictures of all of these gummies. I think the state is going to allege that Kouri took them too. I don't know. It is what it is. They're going to talk about that Eric was on the phone. Kouri made him a drink. And then they're going to make it sound like because he was on the phone for so long with that drink that like he didn't die immediately, that like Kouri couldn't, like the drink couldn't have been the thing that, I don't know. Like that was a bit of a question mark for me because maybe he didn't start to drink the drink until after he got off the phone. I don't know. Is it common to sleep in a room with someone who gets night terrors? So if a child truly gets night terrors instead of nightmares, so there's a difference between nightmares and night terrors. So children that have, and most kids grow out of night terrors on their own, but what can happen is the child wakes up screaming and yelling and you don't wake them up because their brain, they're in a weird sleep cycle and they'll just, because if you wake them up, they don't remember that they were dreaming. So if it's a true sleep terror, so I don't know if they're using the appropriate term. It could have been a nightmare, and I don't know if any of it's true. Because remember, like we don't know if any of that's true. We don't know. But so if what state says happened, because she gives him the drink and then she leaves and goes and sleeps in the child's room, then she's not there when he's dying because, like you would think, call the police. So she discovers him at 3 a.m. So at 3 a.m., that's when, for some reason, she goes back to the room. I don't know why. I don't know that was clear, why she decided to go back to the room at 3 a.m. And maybe the child is, I don't know, like maybe the child's sleeping. That part wasn't clear. What I personally think is that she just didn't want to be there when, so if she's guilty, she didn't want to be there when he died. Like that's what I would think. But all right. The defense is trying to say that nobody knows how he got the fentanyl. They're going to try to attack the credibility of the housekeeper, that she was arrested for something else and she ended up with immunity. So that's the allegation. We'll see what happens when she testifies. But that up until being offered immunity for a different case, that she had never disclosed that she had provided the fentanyl, that she had got that for Kouri. But there's no dispute over his cause of death was an overdose. So they're gonna mention the fact that he visited Mexico, because I think they want, and the defense is gonna say that Mexico is where those things come in. Like they're gonna say that. Hey, Eric. All right. And so, all right. All right. And so that's what so then the defense asked about that perception. And let me share that picture because this is a common illusion that we talk about in psychology. So I went to school in the, gosh. So I think we talked about this in, I don't know if it was social psychology or if it was intro psych. I know very early in psychology and multiple times we talked about this image. And if you look at it one way, you can see a witch, where you can see like her long nose, her chin, her mouth is kind of open. Or you can look at it another way, where it's like a young woman looking away and you can see her little nose. This then becomes her hair, and it's like she has on a fur jacket. Both of them could have on the fur jacket. But the defense says that one way you look at the evidence, you can see a widow, and another way you can look and see a witch. Those weren't the exact words, but that was the gist of it. And I do think that was a decent strategy because they're trying to plant doubt. And it truly is on the state to prove everything that they say they're going to prove. Yes. So this image is super popular in psychology courses. There are multiple other ones. I sometimes use, if I'm working with clients, I will say, let me draw a 6, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like a 6. From where you're sitting, if they're sitting across from me, it can look like a 9. And we talk about perception, that two people look at the same situation and see something totally different. But her digital footprint is super sketchy. And I do feel like the way, and maybe the 90s or so, like DNA, like people were getting convicted on DNA. I feel like phone data has been the thing. Location, that phone extraction, where the car was. I feel like that data has been, a lot of jurors kind of perk up when they hear those things. It was really um, heartbreaking. So Eric's dad testified, and you could just see how much Eric's dad loved him. They were extremely close. They talked every day. They saw each other multiple times a week. Eric was a very involved father. He coached the kids like activities. He did all the things. Even while he worked very hard, he also did instill hard work in the children as well. Eric's dad just testified about how much he how just a great dad that Eric was. And it was really hard for Eric's father to be notified about his son's death. And you could just see the emotion coming up, as he talked about it. And he also mentioned that Kouri told him that Eric died of the same thing that the father's wife, so Eric's mother, died of, which was like a lung fungus, and that wasn't true. And his sister called the ME, and so the medical examiner, and they had not released a cause of death yet. And so that was a little suspicious, if that's true. If that's true, that was super suspicious. And so then Katie, Eric's sister, was on the stand. She was very nervous. You could just tell, just the emotion. She was inseparable from her brother. They were very close. She was, like I said, she was very emotional talking about her brother. I mentioned that I wish they had kind of given her some water, and later she did have some water, and she would take some sips. Because I sometimes watch it on 2 times speed, so sometimes I have to slow it down to see, like, am I? Because sometimes I'm watching it, it's like, this feels pressured, but I'm watching it on 2 times speed. So sometimes I have to slow it down just to see how things are going. Um, and uh, she talked about when she was notified, she talked about her emotional response, just that she was devastated. One of her children was getting over a stomach flu, and she ended up, going immediately over to the house, and she made sure that Kouri's children were away, because their law enforcement was there, everybody was there. And at first, I think they were just like down the hall from where things were happening, and she took them up to a bonus room above the garage. She mentioned that Kouri had on a matching pajama set, and that she just looked put together. They mentioned that Kouri physically attacking her, that didn't let me know, in that I do not believe that came out in because I think when Kouri found out, like, there was a physical fight over the money. I do not remember that coming out on direct or cross examination. I could be wrong, but I did not hear that come out. I think that was one of the things that they withheld. Because sometimes things have to be excluded. Some things could prejudice the jury against the defendant, and so I don't remember that coming out. But like I said, I was probably eating dinner while I was listening to all of this on 2 times speed. So, um, uh, they said that they did their best to ensure the boys did not see their father being willed out, but the boys did go over to the window and they did like see that part. And then that Katie, the sister, was kind of encouraging Kouri to go and console one of her children, because she was kind of trying to console the child, but the child wanted his mom. And so that she encouraged Kouri to go and do that. She mentioned that Kouri deleted because the child wanted his dad's Apple Watch. And so, and the defense is going to downplay anything that comes out on direct. You know what I mean? Like, so the defense was like, well, did she delete the watch because she didn't want, the child to have access to the things that the father had? Or I don't know. Like they went back and forth. It is what it is. And then the sister talked about that Kouri immediately wanted to talk about selling the house. That soon after, Eric died, Kouri wanted to talk about selling the house. And I'm kind of in the middle about it, except for the fact that Kouri was millions of dollars in debt. I think Kouri needed money to pay down all of her debt, like that she had all of this outstanding debt, and selling the house could give her some finances. The other side of that could be, it could be difficult to live in a house where your spouse died. Because we talked about other cases where, like, as soon as they're cleared, people move back into the master bedroom where the redrum happened, or like, so that can be weird. But before Eric died, he put everything in a trust, and he made his sister the trustee, the designated representative of that trust. And it did come out during testimony that Kouri sued the trust, and that money went to, and the defense is making a big deal that the trust paid for an investigator. And the sister tried to talk about part of what the investigator looked at was things related to the claim against the trust. And then because the trust is trying to do the decedent's wishes. And so I don't know how the jury will kind of see that. It just, they were going back and forth. It was a lot. If it's going in and out, sometimes YouTube, sometimes you have to close it and open it again. Let me know if it's my internet. I am directly connected, so hopefully it's not my side, but let me know if it's still choppy. All right. Let me see. So, and so there was a lot of just back and forth about, really, you could tell that Katie and Kouri did not get along. There were a lot of big emotions between the two of them, understandably. And the defense tried to make it sound like from the beginning that Katie suspected Kouri, because it's my understanding, I think it was Katie that went up to one of the officers to mention some of the issues with Kouri. And so we did learn, because the defense asked if Katie was aware of their sex life, and she actually was. So, like, she knew her brother was taking testosterone. She had recommended, and he had gone to an acupuncturist for pain. And there was a lot of suspicion that Kouri had forged his signature. But it's minor. But there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of legalese of, at some point, was she given power of attorney to be able to sign for him? But then did she did she take advantage of that? Because Eric finds out that there was a $250,000 HELOC, equity line of credit, taken out against the house that he was not aware of, and that she had signed his name. And the house is in his name. It's not in their name. And so yeah. So that's when Eric consults with a divorce attorney, and then with the brother-in-law's testimony, we find out that the divorce attorney referred him to somebody that could help him set up the trust if he was concerned about finances or something weird happening with the finances, just to protect his assets. That would be helpful. Then we watched the body cam, and I'm going to talk about that with Paul tomorrow. So Paul reporting live from my sofa. He and I will be going live Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, going through the body cam footage. Yes. Let me know if you all have any initial general questions about this case. But I think she had power of attorney. So how can someone get a line of credit on a house that they don't own? So let's say my mom gave me power of attorney. So power of attorney means that I can act on her behalf. And so yeah. But I think that it was fraudulent, and I think she tried because there were a lot of objections. And I think the judge is doing a good job making sure there's not a big back and forth between the attorneys in front of the jury. And because I think there were some objections when some of those things were coming in. I like this judge. He has the most calming voice. I believe he was the judge for Lori too. Was he the judge for Lori? No, he wasn't the judge. Was he the judge? I don't know. But he has a really calm voice. He's probably always been the judge for Kouri. And it's just this case has been forever to go to trial. I keep seeing him at the pretrial the pretrial hearings. So I'm glad this one finally went to trial. I do think the state has a pretty strong case. I think that the defense is going to try to sow seeds of doubt along the way. I do think that there's some pretty damning evidence against their client. And we'll see how they handle that, how things go. They did attack the credibility of the sister. Eric's sister said that she was really upset. She fell down to the ground, and Kouri didn't help her. But it was on the body cam footage that when she fell to the ground, Kouri did come over to help her. It's really common in a stressful situation like that to not remember every detail perfectly. Eyewitness testimony can be unreliable. Like it just can be. And so that's where videos can be really helpful. And that's where when there are videos, when there is footage to see, I think that's why they show it to the jury as well, because then you can see it with your own eyes. You can see what's happening. The brother-in-law mentioned that he thought Kouri was like she was trying to trim her, but she was like making herself trim her, because there's like a shaking. I can't make myself do it. I can make my legs like shake automatically, but he was saying he felt like Kouri was intentionally trying to do that. That's his perspective. What do you make of Katie and Eric's relationship? Oh, some of the comments try to suggest no. So I don't think there was anything funny there. I think they were just close. I think they were really close, and they talked about everything. And so I don't think there was anything weird, or I think they were close in age as well. Their family, they grew up on a farm. Their dad seemed, because he talked to his dad every day. So I talk to my mom so I don't see my mom every week. So I think they were a very close knit family. They were very involved, and so I didn't see anything like weird or odd with that. I forgot to mention with the brother-in-law's testimony that when Eric was consulting a divorce attorney, because Kouri would read his emails, which is like, she's out here having a whole affair and she's monitoring his emails. Ma'am. Okay. So, and I think he monitored her phone too. And okay. But he didn't email the divorce attorney. He had his brother-in-law email the divorce attorney. So communication was between the brother-in-law and the divorce attorney. And I thought that was really good for anybody that's in an unsafe situation. Because if Kouri had known for sure that he was trying to divorce her, that whole thing could have that really could have triggered something. And so that's the allegation. That's, people are innocent until proven guilty. But I had never thought of using a completely different person, because sometimes what people do is they start a new email account that they don't access from their phone. Like they only access it from their work computer or something. Or I've seen people do that. I've never heard of somebody using like a completely different person where there are no direct emails between them and the individual. Um, she mentioned his lawyers, I think, tried to make it look like Katie and her husband were controlling. Okay. So it didn't come off controlling to me. It seemed involved. Like they just seemed very, very involved. Oh, but maybe because at some point they stopped letting people in the home, and the brother-in-law put up all these pictures, and they were very controlling. Or I don't think they wanted Kouri to have the money. I don't think they did. And I don't think they did. And I think the relationship broke probably with that physical altercation and everything that just ensued after. And as the investigation got deeper, as they found out exactly how much debt she was in, and they were probably concerned that Kouri might come to the house and do something, because the brother-in-law put up um, video cameras all around the house, and the boys didn't live there. So no, the house has remained empty because Kouri didn't live there. Like I think once she was, I don't know if it was after she was arrested. I sometimes struggle to follow some of those timelines, but the police have repeatedly come back out to the house to do searches and things like that. Um, I'm sure Eric talked to Katie about the misappropriation of shared funds. Yep. And so she clearly knew about the $250,000 and that he was looking to get divorced. And that, like, really, the Eric felt like Kouri stole from him. That was a major violation, and he was not happy with that at all. And it's real suspicious that she took out a um insurance policy a few weeks before he died. And I don't know if that insurance policy paid out. If she's convicted and that insurance policy paid out, they will likely like try to sue to get that money back. The defense tried to make it seem like Kouri didn't need the money, but I think the state is probably going to show that her financial situation was not good, and if she divorced, that she was going to be hurting financially, and that what was important to her was how things looked and being privileged and being and having all these things. 'Cause she was making it, she was trying to live this big life, but she didn't have the resources to back it up. And so there's $4 million in debt. Dollars in debt. That's a lot. Because the defense is like, oh, all she had to do was close on this house, do some renovations, and she was going to be able to flip it for a $2 million profit. But did she have the money to renovate the house? Like, did she have the money? I don't know. But um, so I will be live again tomorrow. I'm continuing to follow this case. I'm excited to talk about it tomorrow with Paul. My throat is a little dry. Sorry. I try to mute myself when I cough. But I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one.